Welcome to this tutorial on how to create an Indian music project in Ableton Live. This has been produced for use in classrooms at Linghall School. If you're watching this outside Linghall School, welcome, but please be aware that there are curriculum lessons that run alongside this, so it's not intended primarily as a YouTube tutorial. So, for this project, you will need Ableton Live installed. Now, in Linghall, we have this in various different ways. We have it installed on Macs, we have it installed on PCs. I'm working on a Mac, so some of the things that you see, particularly around the edge of the screen, may look a little bit different, but I will do my very best to give you all of the different shortcuts and show you everything so that it works across platform. You will also need a copy of the printed resources which you will have been given by your teacher, which I have here in electronic format, and I am using a second screen to refer to these, so I'm just going to leave those up here so they are out of sight. You will have from time to time my keyboard popping up so that you have a picture-in-picture of exactly what I'm pressing, and because this is a very early, intended as a Year 7 project, I'm going to do all of the basics. Okay, I'm going to show you every single button press, every single mouse click, and every single note on the keyboard as well. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is open Ableton. Now your teacher will show you how to do this because depending on where you are in the building and which computers you're using, it may be a little bit different. Also worth noting that the keyboard you're using may be a little bit different. You might be on a full-size keyboard or you might be on a mini keyboard like me. If you are on a mini keyboard, be aware of the transpose buttons. These mean that we can make a little keyboard effectively into a big keyboard, because if you've got one set of notes with the lights off, if you press up, everything will get higher. If you press down, everything will get lower. So there may be times where you see me adjust the transpose. If you're on a mini, you will need to do the same thing. If you're on a full-size keyboard, then you will need to use a different part of the keyboard to get the right notes. And use your ears to determine whether or not you've got the right pitches. So, this is Ableton Live Intro 11. I'm going to call it Ableton or even Live just from this point on. And in order to get it ready, there's a few things that we need to do. It opens in this mode called Session View, and actually I prefer working in Arrangement View. It's much better for the type of projects that we're going to do. So over here in the top corner, there are two buttons, one with some horizontal lines and one with some vertical lines. By default, it's in the vertical lines. I'd like you to click on the horizontal lines. If you can't find these buttons, there's a shortcut for this, which on any type of computer is the tab button. So if you tab backwards and forwards, you can go between Session View and Arrangement View as often as you want. But once you're in Arrangement View, you can stay there. That's where I'm going to be for the entirety of this project. We've got 4 tracks already open in Ableton, and we've got 3 of these things down here called buses. We only need 1 of each. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of some tracks that we don't need. So this brown one up here, we're going to keep. We might not necessarily keep it brown. I might change it later because that is a horrible choice of color. They come up randomly whenever you open a new project. But this one here, I'm going to click where it says MIDI in this orange. I'm going to use my right click, and that's going to bring up this menu, and I'm going to go delete. Okay, don't want that. I'm going to do the same thing with this audio track. Click in it with your right click, delete, and this audio track as well, delete. This bus down here that says reverb, we don't want that either, so I'm going to delete that. And we don't need the delay bus either. We do need the master, and you couldn't delete it even if you tried, because if you try to, it doesn't come up with anything. You can't have a DAW project file, an Ableton project file, without a master track. So we are going to create an Indian music performance. Now, you may have already performed this on keyboards. You may have recorded this on keyboards. It depends what order you're doing things in and where on the rotation you are. But you might need to learn some of the parts as you go along. You might already know some of the parts. You might recognize them. So the first thing we need to do is find a suitable sound for our keyboard. And we are in luck that Ableton has a built-in sound called something like sitar. There we go, sitar sound. Okay, now it's a bit of a non-traditional sitar sound. It's quite funky and electronic. It's meant for making EDM, but actually that's the style of music that we're going to try and create here, just to be a little bit different. So I'm going to take that sound and I'm going to drag that all the way across to the brown button where it said MIDI. And when I do that, you can see that button has now changed to sitar sound, and it now means that my keyboard is armed. So So if I play my keyboards, I now have sound coming through my headphones. And the first part that we're going to put down is called the drone, which is the continuous sound that goes all the way through the project. But before we do that, at the moment, the clock or the metronome within Ableton is set quite fast. It's set at this speed. Okay, and that would be quite fast, especially for the intro section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. Where it says 120 over here in the top corner, I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to type 80. Okay, now you don't have to use 80. You could go even slower than that if you wanted to. You go somewhere between 80 and 120. You could even do 160. Be as creative as you want, but I'm going to go at 80, which is about this speed. Okay, and that's going to give me about the right speed. So I'm just going to record 4 bars worth of drone pattern, which happens to be what you have on your resources here. So I'm just going to record the drone, and I'm just going to do 2 beats of E, 2 beats of B, 2 beats of E, 2 beats of B, and I'm going to do that 4 times. Okay, here we go. Let's get recording. Have I got the right octave? Yeah, I think that's going to work quite nicely. So here we go. It'll give me 4 ticks, and then I can start playing. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to have that playing pretty much for our entire project, but rather than recording it for hours and hours and hours and hours, we're going to copy and paste it a little bit later. So all I need is 4 times around. Where it's recorded with this lovely brown, which I didn't change, and maybe I should have done, but whatever, doesn't really matter. I'm going to double click on the header bar of that where it actually says sitar. And that has made the editor open up. Now, the editor is where you can see in great detail what you just recorded. So you can see you've just recorded E1, B1, E1, B1, E1, B1, E1, B1. Okay, 4 times that pattern. Now, I'm pretty good at playing in time, but even I haven't got them precisely where they should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click anywhere in this window. I'm going to click on the quantize button. What this is going to do is, if you look carefully at the notes, you'll see that they move onto their closest beat. Watch, here we go. There we go. And now what we've got is we've got perfectly in time for our drone. Let me click on it. So even if I turn off the metronome, I know that I've got it really, really nice and clear and in time. Okay, there we go. That is our first part recorded. Okay, so the second thing that we have to do in our Indian music project is look at our structure. So your structure on your resources is written out for you. So we're going to start with the alap section, right? The alap section. Now the alap section, all it has is the drone and an improvisation using the raga. Now the raga is the other thing on the sheet. And I could tell you that the raga contains the note B, D, E, G and A. But the way I quite like to do it is if you look at my keyboard, right, it starts on B, okay, then it goes D, E, then it goes G, A, B. Okay, now if you've spotted that pattern, it's play 1, miss out 1, play 2, miss out 1, play 3. Okay, or another way of thinking of it is you can play any note you want, so long as it's a white note, and it's not C, and it's not F. Okay, because this raga, this scale, does not have those notes in it. So you can play anything you want out of those notes. And we're literally going to improvise. We're going to make something up. And so that we've got plenty of drone to improvise over the top of, I'm going to copy this out a couple of times. I'm not very happy with this last note. This last note ends a little bit sooner than I would like it to. So I'm actually going to grab hold of it. I'm going to drag it out just a little bit. You have complete control in the sequencer. So if you mess up or you make a mistake, say I played a wrong note here, for example, you can change it. Or if you want that note gone entirely, you can backspace. I'm going to use the undo command there, which is Windows Z or Control Z, and I just undid what I deleted. So there's always really good ways that you can fix things in this sequencer. So let's give ourselves a good number of things to play with. So I'm going to copy this, and there are a couple of different ways you could do this. You can either right click on it and go copy, or you can click on it and go edit copy, or you can click on it and go Windows C or Control C. Then put your playhead where you want to paste it. And again, there's a couple of different ways. You could either right click and paste. I said to put it in the wrong place. That's not very good, is it? Then you could go edit paste. Or you could put your playhead where you want it and go Command V or Control V, Window V. Okay, we've got different keyboards in the department as well, which is why I sometimes say different things. Basically, when you're on a Mac, the Windows key and the Command key are the same thing. And if you're on a PC, it'll probably be the Control that does the same job. So how many have I done? I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 is a good musical number. Things often happen in 8s. Okay, and at the moment this piece of music is very, very dull. It's just a long time of this drone sound. Let's add something over the top and make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to right click over here, just underneath where my beautiful brown button is. And I'm going to go Insert MIDI track. And as before, I'm going to drag my sitar sound, which is still there because I've got the search bar open, and I'm going to put it on there. Now, I'm quite low on my keyboard, so I'm going to go, so I've got no lights on my transpose. Okay, and that's about right. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to improvise. I'm going to start ridiculously simple to show you how easy this can be. I might just stick to one note to begin with. And remember, so long as you don't play C or F, you just play the notes in the raga, you can't be wrong. And what I'm going to do is over the course of these 8 drones, I'm going to get more and more and more flashy and complicated, which you can do, or you can just keep it nice and simple. You don't have to have 8 either. You could have 4. You could have 2 even. That would be a very short ALAP section. I wouldn't really recommend it. Try and keep it to multiples of 2. Right? I wouldn't have 3s. I wouldn't have 7s. Right? It'll just sound a little bit strange. Music tends to be in round numbers. So here we go. I'm going to record this second track. And you can't be wrong if you don't play F or C. Here we go. So I've only used 3 notes. Let's get a bit more complicated. Oh, 4 notes now. Put the G. Let's build it up. I think that sounds pretty nice. Okay, now you might be sitting there, you might be thinking, Mr. Sanford Casey, you've been playing the keyboard for years. You're about 1,000 years old. You're probably around when Indian music was invented. You know, of course you're able to play really easily. Well, the thing is, keep it simple, right? If you just want to use 1 note, or maybe 2 notes, or even 3 notes at the beginning, you can't be wrong so long as you don't play F and C. And if you're in the middle of your recording and you think, oh, I played a wrong note, or I didn't like that bit, change it, right? You can quantize, which you've already done. Right-click anywhere in the editor, and it'll put it bang in time for you. Okay, you can move things around. If you played a wrong note, you literally just grab hold of it and move it up, down, or delete it. Okay, you can even, ladies and gentlemen, add in stuff that wasn't there in the first place. Right, so if you put yourself in draw mode, which is the little pencil way up here in the top corner, or press B on your keyboard, you can actually, look, see how it's turned into a pencil? You can put new notes in. Right, now I can't put an F in because we've already said we're not allowed to use F and C. But you know, you can add in stuff as much as you want. You can't put F sharp in because, you know, I'm doing really bad examples here. Okay, so put yourself in draw mode and have a go. All right, this is a creative project. You don't have to create something exactly the same as mine. In fact, I'd rather you didn't, to be honest. Sounds pretty good, though. Oh, okay. So my quantizing has actually messed up some of my notes because they were so close together that it snapped them onto the beat and they weren't supposed to be on the beat. So I'm going to undo my quantization. At least I'm going to try to. Oh, it doesn't want me to. It doesn't want me to. Never mind. It's fine for examples. It's absolutely fine for what we're doing here. So, second section that we need to do, we need to be thinking about our jaw. Okay? J-H-O-R. Now, our drone is going to carry on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to put another 8 drones in. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we might want a shorter jaw. We might end up taking some of those out. But now at least we've got what we want. Now it would be nice if we could include the Tala at this point. Now the Tala is the rhythm cycle. We've been learning about these in lessons, or at least you would have been learning about these in lessons, so this should be familiar to you, hopefully before you get to this point. If not, here's a sneak preview and we're getting you ahead of your peers. Think of it like that. Okay, we're going to use some samples to create a nice authentic Indian drum beat, because we are lucky that included in this sound there are some tabla samples. At least there should be some tabla samples. Hang on a second. There we go. So what I did was I clicked on samples. I was in sounds before, and then I typed in tabla. Okay, and if you click on these are real recordings of a real tabla. Now I'm going to use that one, right? Because if you notice, I set my tempo to 80. This one is actually 85 BPM, but the nice thing about Ableton is when I drag it in, it will fix it for me and it will turn it into 80. At least I hope it will. It should do. It did when I practiced. Okay, so I'm literally going to chuck the tablet in there. Let's have a go. I might need to change my tempo if this doesn't work. It has worked. Okay, now you could have used the 130 if you wanted, and it still would have adjusted the sound, but I wanted to bet it's not going to sound as good because it's been slowed down. Yeah, that sounds a bit weird. Let's listen to that on its own. Good opportunity for me to introduce you to the solo tool. Over here on the edge of your track, you have a little S. Okay, if you click on that, that means that that will only play the track that you have clicked the S on. Yeah, that sounds weird. Right, it sounds like it's been played through like jelly or something, because it's been slowed down from 130 to 80. Slowing down from 85 to 80 is not going to cause any problems. So take the solo off, and we're going to put this back on. Here we go, and we're going to play again. How good does that sound? Okay, we're going to need to loop it out a few times, aren't we? So the way I do this, the way I like to have control of my loops. I find that if you use the loop tool and you just start dragging stuff out, you don't. In fact, no, I'm talking rubbish. Let's do it properly. So if you drag the top corner, you could have done this with these actually. Oh no, sorry, you couldn't. That's right. I remember now. You can't do that loop tool, that looping that I've just done with your MIDI tracks that you've created. You need to copy and paste them. But if you grab hold of the top corner of your audio loop and just drag it out that long, it will go the whole way. Okay, so this second section, as well as the Tala being introduced, we start to get into a more formal section, and we add in what we call these rag melodies. Now, on your written resources, there are 2 rag melodies, not rag melodies, we lengthen the A. Okay, there's this one here, which is just basically the raga. And there's this one here, which is a little bit more complicated. Now, it might be at this point that you haven't done these yet, and you might need to take a little more time to practice them before you record. But you can practice on your sequencer. That's no problem at all. So I'm going to do a mixture of these two. So I'm going to do the easy one first, and then I'm going to do the slightly more difficult one second. And I'm just going to record in the same track that I was in the first place. So here we go. Oh, I have encountered a problem, okay? Yeah, I'm going to need to change my transpose in the middle of recording because I'm in the wrong part of my keyboard. Let me just work that out. So I started here. Then I'm going to need to go up. Okay, so I'm going to need to adjust my transpose as I play. That's a bit fiddly. Hopefully you'll be on a full-size keyboard and you won't need to. Let's do that again. Okay, now you might decide that you might repeat those a couple of times. You might have 3 or 4 of the... No, don't do threes. I've told you not to do odd numbers. You might have 2 times around the easy one and then 4 times around the more difficult one, which you can do by playing it out or you can do by copying and pasting it. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to just have our middle section, our jaw. I'm going to have it end there for demonstration purposes. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of these. You might leave them in. You might have more than 8. You might have so many. But I need to show you the third section, the jala. Okay, now the jala, which kind of means joyful, is very, very exciting. It's improvisation again, but we're going to do something with the speed. Okay, the jala is supposed to start at the same speed as the other sections and get faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the tempo of everything that I've recorded so far to speed up over the course of what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. So first job, I'm going to put back in exactly what I just took out because I forgot that it's actually the drone carries on. So I'm going to do 4 of them. Yeah, I'm going to make that our jala section. I'm going to keep this going, right? And you might say, well, that's not going to get faster. It is if we do something a little bit special. Okay, so I'm going to open the master track. Right, let me go back to where I was a second ago. This master that I said you couldn't delete even at the beginning, make it bigger. Press on the arrow, right? And it's just a big yellow button at the moment. Press A. A opens what we call the automation panel. And automation is a very complicated word for where you make something do something automatically. Okay, you tell the computer, whenever you get to this point, I want this to happen. And that's what we're going to do. If you look, it says that the song tempo is what's being changed here. And there's a red dotted line. All right, a red dotted line. And that dotted line, if you hover over it, says 80. Where have we heard that number before? Well, 80 is this number up here because it is the tempo of the track. So it's going to start at 80. And this section, our final section, our jala, I'm going to put a little dot there. I'm going to click on the tempo track, okay? That's 80, because that's where we're going to start changing things. And we want to stop changing things at the end, where our music finished. So I'm going to click at the end where our music finished. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my second dot up. Can you see that that one is moving? And I'm going to be a bit crazy. I'm going to go all the way to 160. In fact, I might even go higher than that. Oh, it kind of wants me to do 170. I'm going to go with it. You know what? And now, if you play this final section, it starts off slow. But can you hear it's getting faster? It's getting really fast. Is 170 too crazy? Have I overcooked it? Can I even play this fast? We'll find out. Oh, it's going to be really quick by the end of it, isn't it? But you can hear it's building up. It's getting more and more joyful, just like the Indian performance that we actually wanted to. Here we go. And it's got a really nice ending on it already. It just sort of stops with a little bit of fade out on our original track. So really good. So that's how to do tempo automation. Right? You're only in year 7, you're doing tempo automation. It's not actually that difficult, is it? And it makes things sound really, really pro. Right? And you hear like professionally recorded pop songs, they're using this software. They are. This stuff that we're showing you, that's how people make their songs sound good. Right? They use software like this. Maybe not the Intro 11 version like we use. They'll probably use the full version. But they are using Ableton. And they are using Logic and the other things that we've got in the department. So, you know, we're training you really early in these important skills. Right, shut up, Mr. Sanford Casey, and get on with it. So, our track here, we had our rag melodies. We're going to do some improvisation. And improvisation with a tempo that's getting faster takes a little bit of practice. So you might need to record this several times. Shall I go really high? I think I should. Okay, I've put up. I've actually made my green light orange on my transpose. That's how far up I've gone. You can see I don't want to be up here. Well, maybe I might change it in the middle. We shall see. So I'm just going to improvise again, just like I did for the intro. But this time I've got to keep up with what's going on in the track. Are we ready? Here we go. Shame about that wrong note I played right at the end. That was great fun. I enjoyed that. That was good. Right. Shame about the wrong note at the end. Good job I can fix it. Okay, I accidentally think I played a D. There it is. Just get rid of it. Okay. And we have an Indian performance. We have a really authentic Indian performance. We've got improvisation, we've got structure, we've got rag melodies, we've got tabla, we've got sitar sounds, we've got improvisation, we've got speeding up at the end. What a great thing to do. Okay, I think it's a fantastic Year 7 project. I always enjoy this one. Okay, should we listen to the whole thing? Why not? How slow does this bit feel now? This is where I was keeping it really simple. I've only played 3 notes so far. I'm concentrating on one. Could have just stayed on one and played rhythm patterns. Getting a bit more complex now. If you play anything wrong, just get rid of it in the editor. Yeah, that bit hasn't quite worked. I've quantized it and it's actually messed up my timing a bit. It sounds worse than when I recorded it. Never mind. Okay, so we're coming into the second section now. That's the end of the alap. Here comes the jaw. And our tabla's going to start, and here's our rag melodies. Rag melodies. How good does that tabla sound? End of that section. Yours will probably be longer. Starting to get faster. Oh, I like that bit. don't want to go up to 170, don't. Just make it get a little bit faster. Take it up to 120 maybe. Someone's going to go crazy and go up to like 390. They always do. How good's that? And there we go. An Indian music performance on a sequencer. Quite an easy project. Should be a good way to sort of ease you into music making at Linghorse School. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll see you around in one of these tutorials in the future, no doubt.